Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. More of a defensive pairing currently than a line. The man to my right is at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Moraes. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Ant Rivera 86 may join us at some point today, may not. We will see. But he's a game time decision, as he says. So we'll see if he gets here and talks a little Four Nations face off with us. Chris, how's the week going? We are in December here.
We are indeed in December. It snowed here, so it's officially cold. Because there needs to be, it needs to be cold enough for there to be snow on the ground. So we have made it here. I wouldn't say it's no longer like the beginning of the year, because once you hit December, you're basically heading into mid-season. So I'm at least happy the mid-season's here.
Snowing in California. We got earthquakes here in Northern California. So, just let nothing out of the ordinary there. Everything's happening the way it should.
There you go. See, maybe the earthquake is from the San Jose Sharks winning a couple of games in a row.
I mean, they're still at the bottom of the division, but I mean, the last week or so, I mean, they beat the Capitals. They had a 13-goal affair Black Friday that I was at. They beat the Kraken. They actually sweep the home and home. So they've been taking care of business there.
Wow, I don't remember the last time the Sharks won 3 games in a row. I remember the last time they lost like 10 in a row, but I don't remember the last time they won 3.
They may not be the worst team in the division this year. That could be the Ducks. We'll see. I mean, there's still plenty of season left. They're not the worst team in the conference. It's probably reserved for maybe the Blackhawks right now, who fired Luke Richardson earlier today, it looks like.
I feel absolutely terrible for Luke Richardson, because there is nothing he could have done to make this team any better, and somehow he's getting the can. Like, that team is a bunch of scrubs, and I mean, it's his fault. So I love how management does that. They're just like, yeah, Luke, sorry, man. Apparently it's you, or we need a new voice. And you're looking around that lineup and going, okay, that's unfortunate.
I mean, it's like we talked about with the Penguins last week. Like, okay, fine, you could fire Sullivan, but is that really going to change anything? And yeah, I don't think anything's going to really change in Chicago, but maybe a new voice will help them not be as bad. But yeah, little coaching news before we got things going today. We'll do a little quick hits before we get to the reason everybody tuned in here. It's all Four Nations today. We're going to go through the 4 rosters, and I've got a few hypothetical ones as well to throw out there. State of Survival checking in. You're missing a Stooge or two. That is correct. And it was a game time decision. We'll see if he is here. It doesn't look like he's going to be here today. But nonetheless, we miss our buddy, the Devils fan over there. Certainly his team doing a lot better than mine in the Metro right now. And speaking of former Metropolitan players, JT Miller has resumed skating, and there's a plan, according to Rick Tocchet, for his return. They have not specified when he is going to return, but their next 2 games are tomorrow against Columbus and Sunday against Tampa Bay. And Vancouver certainly will welcome him back to the lineup with open arms.
Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks could probably use him. It's good to see that he's skating, even though we don't know what he is dealing with, but it's one step closer, and that's all that really matters. From a fantasy perspective, you just want him back on the ice as soon as possible so he can contribute.
Our buddy at Rivera 86 definitely would like him back in our league. I've got a couple leagues where I would like Mr. Miller to return too, but hey, when he's ready, he's ready. And right now they sit 3 points behind the Kings for second in that Pacific Division. 7 behind the Vegas Golden Knights for first, and they have 2 games in hand on the Calgary Flames, who have 30 points. Other headlines quick before we get on to the Four Nations stuff. Rasmus Dahlin is out against Winnipeg tonight due to back spasms, but head coach Lindy Ruff said it doesn't look like something that'll keep him out of the lineup too long. So hopefully just a couple of games, and not, we're talking about him being out on Christmas.
I have maximum exposure to Rasmus Dahlin. I don't think there's a single league where I don't have him in. It's not how I planned it to go, but I mean it's worked out pretty well, so I'm happy with that. Maybe the back spasm comes from the Buffalo Sabres being probably the absolute worst team to exist. They blew a 4-0 lead to the Colorado. Like I bet on it was atrocious. I bet on Colorado to win, and when I saw they were down 4-0, I was like, never am I ever trusting the Colorado Avalanche again on the road, especially when I saw that Gorgiev was like, I knew better. You know what I mean? Like this isn't my first rodeo. I've been here, done that. And then when I woke up, I had too much money in my Bet365 account, and I was like, "What happened here?" And then I saw that the Sabres had lost. Not only did they lose, they lost in regulation. So the Buffalo Sabres are miserable. Buffalo as a city, man. I mean, it's just not fun. My apologies to the people of Buffalo. That city is just not fun. So not only is your city not fun, your team continues to be an absolute letdown. And I mean, there's a lot of things going wrong in New York, from the Jets, obviously, in football, to wherever Juan Soto is going to play, to the New York Rangers just looking miserable. And yet it's the Buffalo Sabres that are, to me, just the biggest. They're the worst.
So in Buffalo right now, because the Bills are just lighting the world on fire, like that's kind of helping the Sabres a little bit, maybe not catch as much heat locally, because it's a grand old time to be a Bills fan right now. And shout out to Lindy Ruff. He's going to coach his 1800th game tonight. He's the fourth coach to hit that milestone, along with Scotty Bowman, Paul Maurice, and Barry Trotz. But yeah, I mean, they did just get Tage Thompson back recently. Some consider him a snub from Team USA. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, things not good in Buffalo. They could use a little bit of they need to string a couple of wins together and start to feel a little better about themselves. But yeah, you can't blow that game against Buffalo.
It's just unacceptable, man. The Buffalo Sabres, like at some point they're supposed to be good, right? And this team does that. Like there's nothing to be done with this team. They're going to be in a perpetual rebuild forever. It's just not moving. It's not moving.
And they got Winnipeg tonight. Winnipeg's been a little bumpy lately too, so maybe that's a get right spot for them. Maybe they can get going again against a worse team that is struggling against them. Speaking of bad, go ahead.
No, that's 100% it. I mean, I have a ton of Winnipeg because, like, Eddie, if there's one thing that can cure you, it's playing against the Buffalo Sabres. That seems to fix a lot of things.
Winnipeg puck line, something to consider there. Maybe if you think they're going to win big, or I don't know what the regulation is, but if that's too juiced or not. But that's also another way you could go. Speaking of teams not playing well, Anaheim Ducks, although they've been a little bit better lately, but they are about to lose Trevor Zegras here. No timetable yet. We know it's a lower body injury. Does not look good. The way he had to be helped off the ice. He's got 4 goals and 6 assists in 23 games. So we'll see what happens there. And speaking of long-term injuries, Tyler Seguin out 4 to 6 months after undergoing hip surgery. He had 9 goals and 11 assists in 19 games this year. The hip he's having the procedure on was not the hip he had the procedure on, however many years ago it was. So it's the left hip this time, not the right hip. Makes a difference because if you got to go back into a hip for a second time, that's probably not good for your career. He's probably got a couple of years left when he comes back from this, depending upon how recovery goes.
Yeah, not ideal for Seguin. I mean, if you're looking at the glass half full, like you said, it's not the same hip, so take that for what it is. That's a huge hole. Like, even if Seguin's not the player he once was, he still contributes, and Dallas is pretty deep when he's in that lineup. I'm more worried about the Trevor Zegras injury. Like, Zegras got off to an absolutely miserable start to the year. He was starting to pick his game up. He's been hurt a lot. Like, this is a kid that can definitely produce, but he can't stay healthy. And that's, I don't know, man. Like, not that Anaheim is any good, and not that they should be trying to win here. They are a lottery team, and they could probably pick up another pick, and it would do them some good. But I mean, you want to see Trevor Zegras get on the right path here. So it did not look good. It's one of those kind of iffy injuries. You're not quite sure what he's dealing with, but I'm not optimistic.
He hadn't missed a game up to that point in the season. He had played all 23 games for Anaheim. So yeah, I guess he was quote unquote due, but I mean, he had a good run so far. Yeah, just another bump in the road for his short career so far. But Seguin, yeah, he was a second line contributor in Dallas. He was playing well for them. But they've got the depth to handle that, they're going to roll right along. Yes, they're going to miss him, but they are one of the better teams in the West. Last night they didn't play. They lost to the Kings, but I still think they have the depth to handle that for Seguin there. And he was playing on that second line with Duchesne. Mason Marchment's having a good year, so he's going to hopefully continue to pick up the pace there for him. Let's talk about some guys getting back in the lineup tonight, or have been returned to the lineup. First of all, you got to be excited to see Patrick Laine out there again in a Hab sweater after the way the year started for him.
Yeah, that was you knew it was coming. Like when like it was kind of like the build up and the hype. Like there was an idea that he could be back in the lineup. He was skating. Just like an absolute massive W for him. Like everything that he's gone through, he's been very open about his battles with mental illness. He's been, he's saying how he was nervous. He spoke to his therapist about it. He gets into that lineup and he scores that goal, power play goal as well. And you can just see like how excited everybody around him was because this is a moment coming for him. He's been through a lot. He's trying to get trying to get his career back on path here. He's gone through everything, but I mean, when he's in the lineup, it adds another threat. He is a great one-time shot on that, left side. Even if it's like Cole Caulfield's spot because they're both right-hand shooters, like it doesn't matter. Adding him to the lineup, especially on the line that he plays with, Kirby Doc and Uri Slavkovsky, those are big boys, man. Like you got to be like 6'3" to be on that line. So those are big guys. Maybe line A can help Doc get going as well, get Slavkovsky going. It's good. If from a fantasy perspective, if he's not on your team, I mean, and you need somebody to produce, that's the guy that I would go out and probably add. He's going to be the shooter on his line because Doc and Slavkovsky don't want to shoot. So let him be the guy who shoots, frees up space as well for Caulfield, Suzuki, the rest of the gang, because you don't have to only look at them. But it was great to see him. It was great to see him score. It was great to see him contribute. It was great to see Montreal win. Just, good for him, man. He deserves it.
Also gets selected to Team Finland for the Four Nations face-off. We'll take a look at their roster here in a little bit. Also, Patrick Kane going to return to the lineup tonight for the Red Wings there. He'll slot in, it looks like, with JT Compher and Alex DeBrincat there on that line. And the Red Wings, you talked about the Sabres disappointing there, and it's like there's like two tiers in the Atlantic Division. There's the haves and the have-nots. You got, the Panthers, the Leafs, the Bruins have seemed to turn things around, the Lightning, and then you have, Ottawa, Detroit, Buffalo, Montreal. And it's like a borderline clear delineation there.
I'm just I'm not expecting Detroit to be good. You know what I mean? It's the same thing every year. I bought into them not being good. I don't know what Yzerman's plan is. This team has a whole bunch of goalies that they don't need. Their defense not really that good. Their offense is like, meh, whatever. Like, I'm not expecting anything. Watching them be the team that they are, I'm just like, yeah, all right. Like Buffalo, it's like the pieces are there. Like, that's a good back end. They got a good goalie. Tage Thompson is a superstar, and it's like you're waiting for them to get going. Like, I'm not waiting for the Wings to get going. They're mediocre, man. They're like they're ninth in the East. They're not going to get a good pick. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're just there. I could care less about this. The Wings. They exist. Good for them.
Goaltending is in bad shape. Moritz Seider, you know, where has he gone this year? He hasn't been as good. Now, granted, he's got a lot to deal with, with defending behind that group of forwards, but nonetheless, he's not, played like the top defenseman that he has in previous seasons. Dylan Larkin kind of, and Lucas Raymond, he's got his contract. He seems to be playing well too, but yeah, there's just the cupboard's pretty bare there. There's not much beyond the guys we mentioned. But yeah, Detroit just like a nothing team there. So there we go. We talked. He'll be back in the lineup tonight though, so they should get a little bit of a push there from Patrick Kane. But let's get to the Four Nations face-off rosters here, and I'm excited to go roster by roster here. Let's get it right up on the stage. Roster breakdowns there, and let's go to Team USA. Here we go. Now, these are not official line pairings, but these are the people, line combinations, I should say. But I just tried to make lines, keep them balanced, try and factor in who plays center, which side, shooter, all that good stuff. So let's take a look at Team USA rosters first here. So let's go, the goaltenders, no surprise there. Those are the three they got. Jeremy Swayman probably catches a break with the injury to Thatcher Demko to start the year where he wasn't playing. Otherwise, Demko probably gets that third spot, especially the way the season's gone for Swayman. But you don't want to take a guy with it's an injury-prone deal. I mean, granted, you're only going to start two of these guys or start one and play one. But yeah, let's see. I don't have any problems with the goaltending here, and you're probably going to see just Hellebuck and Ottinger there.
Yeah, I mean the goaltending was about as much of a lock as it could have been, right? Like there's no Like, there's no Thatcher Demko, and I mean, you can argue that like he probably deserves to be there. He'd probably be the starter on any other team if he was an American. So I don't have a single problem with that goaltending. That goaltending is just really good. I don't know. I don't like. It's hard to take away stars from Connor Hellebuck because he's a Vezina winner, but like Jake Ottinger's earned it. And say what you want about Jeremy Swayman, like he's still good. Man, that goaltending is just abundance of riches.
Yeah, that's probably the hypothetical Russian team probably has strong has equivalent goaltending, but of the four teams in this tournament, they've got the best goaltending far and away. Team USA. Looking at the blue line, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, Jacob Slavin, Adam Fox, Noah Hannafin, Zach Werenski, and Brock Faber there. We can talk about who the guy isn't that's going to be left out that doesn't dress. I'd probably have Faber as the extra guy just because I'd rather go with the more experienced group there, but pretty strong blue line there, and you knew Quinn Hughes was going to be there. He was one of those first ones that were picked a few months ago. Same for Charlie McAvoy and Fox, so we kind of knew what half the blue line was going to look like. Werenski absolutely earns his spot there and belongs to be there. I see one comment in the chat here questioning Noah Hannafin getting added there. We could talk some potential snubs for Team USA, but looking at the defense group there, I don't know who else you maybe bring in there besides a Hannafin. So I have no problem with that blue line either.
The blue line is fine. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised to see Brock Faber there, considering the season that he's had. He's not really tearing it up.
Not.
I had Charlie McAvoy on this team. No, sorry, he is there. My apologies to Max. I had, John Carlson there as well. Snubbing John Carlson is definitely a way to live life. Considering all that he does for the Washington Capitals, he can play offense, he can defend as well. He eats up a bunch of minutes. Maybe that's where Jacob Slavin comes in. Like, I'm okay with it. I also had Seth Jones on this team. I don't know if
he's banged up right now. But
he's banged up. I mean, I get that, but the same thing with Seth Jones. Like, he can contribute offensively. He's good defensively. Veteran presence. I don't know, man. I'm okay with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I would have probably taken Seth Jones and John Carlson over Hannafin and Faber. Nothing wrong with Faber, nothing wrong with Hannafin. I just don't know if Hannafin is a great defender, right? And how much is Brock Faber going to see the ice, right? So I think you lean on guys like, Quinn Hughes, McAvoy, Adam Fox, definitely. Slavin is there for this defense. Like, I mean, man, Werenski and Hughes, like, if I want to see those two play together, I want to see them play on the power play because that is just an abundance of riches from the back end there. That is fantastic. Again, very good defensively. Jacob Chickard as well. Like, just so many options there. I get it. I don't think it's as much of a snub. I just think there's just too many options. You got to make choices, right? You're building a roster. So this is what they decided to go with.
I can see the argument for Carlson over either Faber or Hannafin. Maybe you want to get Faber some international experience, finished second in the Calder last year. So, like, maybe that's part of what weighs into it a little bit too. I agree, though. Carlson probably should have gotten a spot over one of those two guys, and then I'm fine with that. But, yeah, Seth Jones could have also been there, but I think the injuries don't help at the time, and Chikrin's also. But then you're in that tier of, like you said, like, well, you could take any of these guys, and it's like you're not wrong. But, yeah, Carlson probably should have had a spot there. Now let's look at the forward group here. And, I would say this is probably the second best forward group of the four. I think Canada probably has the best forward grouping there. But then, yeah, I would say, Team USA and Sweden's probably neck and neck. It's probably like a 2A, 2B kind of deal. But yeah, Austin Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk, Jack Hughes, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, JT Miller, Dylan Larkin, Jake Gensel, Matt Boldy, Brady Tkachuk. Those are all guys that I'm not surprised by. Not really surprised by Kreider either. Or, Trocheck and Brock Nelson, two guys there that, they've earned their keep. But a couple of guys that you could have considered, Clayton Keller, Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson, and, of course, your man, Cole Caulfield. That's the one that it's like, some teams, when you look at them, they have a lot of shooters, and there's not a lot of guys that do other things where you need more of that. I think Team USA probably could have gotten away with having a Cole Caulfield there and having his option over maybe a Brock Nelson or a Trocheck. I mean, I'm fine with Trocheck, but yeah.
I mean, I get that. Like, some people are saying Cole Caulfield does one thing and he scores goals. You're right. He leads all American-born players this year in goals. Just, It's definitely a choice to leave him off. I can understand why, but at the same time, that like it's a choice, and I can live with that. Like you got Matthews, you got Hughes, you got Connor, you got Boldy, you got Gensel. Like there's so many guys who can score goals. So maybe they're like, hey, we're gonna leave him off, and it won't hurt as much. I will say this: bringing Chris Kreider is definitely a choice. I can get why Vincent Trocheck is there, but leaving Nick Suzuki off this roster, and some people have said that he doesn't deserve to be there, which is quite the take from a guy who plays a ton of minutes on an absolutely miserable hockey team that stays healthy. He is a two-way centerman. That's what he is. He could play everywhere on the ice. Sorry, Nick Suzuki's Canadian. We'll get back to him later.
You're jumping the gun by a team.
Okay, so I'm almost there. Sorry, Nick. You could be probably on this team and be okay. Tage Thompson, leaving him off this roster is also certainly a choice, because Tage Thompson, yes, he is a centerman, but he could play the wing as well. You're telling me Tage Thompson is like not as good as Chris Kreider? Like I don't like. What's Kreider gonna do? Is he gonna play any power play time? No. He's not taking any of those guys' spot. Clayton Keller as well. Keller
hasn't had a great year either. So Keller,
neither has Kreider, and somehow he's here. What's he doing?
Keller was a guy that I thought was not to say a lock, but I thought he would make the team. He did not play his way on the team this year. I'm not going to say he's playing bad, but he did not do enough to merit any. He's not a guy that I would consider a snub. Caulfield, again, I think you can maybe have another shooter on that team. But, I get why they didn't. But yeah, Tage Thompson, like you said, can play center or the wing. It's a big body. There's a lot of reasons to take. And again, Jason Robertson, same thing. If you don't want another shooter, fine, get it. But yeah, Tage Thompson would be the one that I would probably put in over a Brock Nelson or a Chris Kreider there.
Yeah, and I think Tage Thompson would get like a regular shift. I don't think he would be the 13 forward on that team at all. So again, I'm not going to take anything away from Trocheck, even Brock Nelson. Like some people want to say, oh, he's good. He's good and he can play the role there. But I mean, man, you want guys who can fill the net. And I know it's building a team, but you have lots of guys. You have lots of guys on this team that can play against the best players in the world and have success. Like guys like Dylan Larkin, guys like JT Miller. Those guys can defend as well. So they're all over the ice. You can play them against the opposing team's best players and have success. I get that maybe you can't do that with Cole Caulfield because, it's just not his role. But I don't know. It's a 13 forward and you give him that power play time on the right side. Let it do it. But this USA roster is really good, though. Let's keep it a stack here. This team is expected to do some damage.
And when I make these line combinations, I'm trying to factor in balance. I'm trying to factor in, a Jack Eichel between a guy like Kyle Connor who could shoot the puck and a JT Miller that's going to go and do everything else to make offense happen. I'm trying to build balance on each line. I'm trying to make a fourth line that's like a pain in the ass kind of shutdown line. Like, Vinny Trocheck, Brady Tkachuk, doesn't matter who's on the right side there. Those two guys alone are going to make things difficult on you. That's how we look at the Team USA roster. Now, Chris is anxious to get to Canada. So that's a cool look at the Canadian roster right there. Let's go through the goaltending here because that's probably they might have the weakest goaltending in the tournament. But I mean, who else could you really put there? You want to say maybe a Logan Thompson was a guy we were considering. The way he's played out of the gate for Washington this year. It's Aiden Hill, it's Binnington. I made an argument for Marc-Andre Fleury as a feel-good pick there. But, I mean, there was not many ways they could go there. I don't have a problem with it, except for the fact that it's not high quality.
It's definitely not high quality. Look, I had Stuart Skinner as part of this team. I also had Marc-Andre Fleury as part of it for obvious reasons. I don't mind this, the goaltending. To me, I think this is Aiden Hill's spot. And some people are saying that, Sam Montembeault is just there for political reasons. And I'm like, homie, can we, Sam Montembeault has won gold, I think, at the World Juniors, World Championships, one of those. He has represented his country before. He is doing fantastic on an absolutely miserable Montreal Canadiens team. Stop it. Some people are they're bored and they're looking for something to write, and that is not it. But it's no secret that this goaltending is not good. I will say this. So in the Monday night league that we play in, right, there's one team that's really, really good, right? They're great team up front, great defensively. Their goaltending is iffy, right? But this goalie is one of the, he's winning games, and it's no secret that offense carries it. So if your offense and defense is really, really good, you could probably make up for the lack of, goaltending in the back end. There's no world-class goalies here on this team, but the other team's got to possess the puck, and they got to be in the offensive zone to score goals. And if this team is built, correctly, they possess the puck. I mean, again, Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby on one team feels like a cheat code. So, I mean, if your opponent never touches the puck, you're going to be just fine.
That's the thing. It's, with how strong that forward group is, and they have a really good blue line as well, and we'll get to both of those in a second. Maybe they won't have to make a ton of saves. Maybe the goaltending for them is not as relevant as it would need to be for some other teams. Let's look at the defensive group there. No surprise Taves and Makar make it. No surprise Josh Morrissey makes it. You get two of the Vegas defensemen there with Shea Theodore and Alex Petrangelo. Travis Sanheim, Colton Parayko, I think, are interchangeable on that third pairing. Both, in terms of snubs for Canada, you started your Nick Suzuki there, but on the blue line, do you make an argument for Evan Bouchard over one of those guys, or are you okay with the group you got?
I mean, look, I had Evan Bouchard as part of his team. I probably had him as a seventh defenseman, the power play guy. He still has an absolute cannon of a shot. So, like, I'm again, Morrissey can play the power play. Makar can play the power play as well. Shea Theodore can play. All those guys can play the power play. Yes. But the cannon that Bouchard has, it's certainly a choice to say, hey, we're not going to bring him in. I get maybe the defensive game is not there, but you have more than enough players who can play defense. So that is one thing. There is no reason to have Alex Petrangelo on this team. Zero reason when you have a player like Noah Dobson or Mackenzie Weegar that are Canadian. There's no reason for Alex Petrangelo to be here. I get it. He's good defensively. Noah Dobson being left on this team, absolutely criminal. I don't know. I don't know how this is. Mackenzie Weegar is the same thing. There's a guy who he could block shots. He could generate offense. Like Petrangelo doesn't do that. He doesn't push the play anymore. He doesn't generate any offense, right? So to me, there's nothing there. I had Brandon Montour on this team. I'm fine if you bring Colton Parayko. It is what it is. Montour was really good in that Florida run to the Stanley Cup. So I felt that Travis Sanheim is the one that kind of like lifted some eyebrows here. Clearly he's played well enough to be here, and let's see what his role is. Are his advanced metrics really that great? I don't know, right? And I like it. To me, the question is he better than somebody like Mackenzie Weegar and Noah Dobson? And the answer is no. Not in my mind, not statistically, not advanced metrically. He's not. So I don't know how he got here, but make the most of it, homie.
There you go. Noah Dobson, I know things aren't great on the island right now, but to not see him as one of the seven there was a little surprising.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, the Islanders are garbage all around. And I get Noah Dobson's it's not a great start, but I don't think that's all on him. Like, he still goes out there, he blocks shots, he could shoot the puck, he's a great passer. And he can eat up the minutes. He is a better version of Alex Petrangelo. So why is that? Like, it's Petrangelo because he's going to play with Theodore. Like, I knew that Devin Taves was going to make this team because he's probably going to play with Cale Makar, and it is a short tournament, and you want guys who have some familiarity to play together. I get that. But, I mean, this isn't Crosby dragging Kunitz with him. Like, I don't know why Alex Petrangelo is here. It doesn't make sense. He's not better than some of the guys who are left off. I don't even know how much he's going to contribute.
Now, when you look at the forward group, it's tough to use the word snub with like a Canadian roster because like you could probably build a second roster out of Canadians that would compete pretty well too, especially up front at forward. In terms of like guys that are locks, obviously Braden Point, Connor McDavid, Sam Reiner, Mitch Marner, Nate McKinnon. I think Travis Konechny also belongs there as well. Obviously Crosby and Marchand have been line mates on international tournaments for Canada. It seems like forever now. Mark Stone, I kind of have like an old man line vibe going there, but it works. And then, on the bottom line, I see Sam Bennett over John Tavares was something that State of Survival was asking about. And I'm okay with that just because you want a little bit of sandpaper in that lineup. Bennett's going to give you that in a short tournament, especially against the United States. And then you see Seth Jarvis and Brandon Hagel there, and Anthony Cirelli certainly earns his keep there with playing the second line center role in Tampa, filling in for Point there for a little while when he was injured and playing very well. So he has played his way onto the Canadian roster. Zach Hyman hasn't had a great year, if you want to say he's a snub. Steven Stamkos also not off to the great start down in Nashville. Mark Scheifele is the one that I would say if you were going to, if you want the Tavares over Bennett, maybe Scheifele is like the happy medium between those two. But that would be the one guy. He's played very well this year that, to say I was surprised that he didn't make it.
I am a little bit like I get bringing Mark Stone, like Marshawn Crosby and Stone. That's a lot of leadership on what those guys can play on both sides of the ice. So I get what's happening. I just don't like it. I had Alexi Lafreniere as part of this team. I think that would have been kind of nice. Leaving Connor Bedard off this is certainly a choice. I get that he's had a rough start to this year. He also plays for the Chicago Blackhawks, okay? And he was pretty good at his rookie season, despite his injury. So, to me, like a game-breaking kind of player, like if you're not Canadian, you didn't follow his World Juniors, fine, I get it. But the homie dragged his team there. There is an abundance of skill, and I would have loved to have watched him and McDavid on the same ice at any point. You could take away a lot of his responsibilities by not having to win faceoffs. Like, play him on the wing. I don't care. But leaving him off this roster, certainly a choice. I had Steven Stamkos as part of it instead of Mark Stone. It's kind of like interchangeable to me, right? Yeah. I just like the upside that Stamkos like scores goals, but Stamkos can play well defensively as well. Stone is probably a better all-around player. Let's see if his back holds up by the time you get there. To me, the one is obviously Nick Suzuki. I think Nick, I don't know, man. Like, I get why Anthony Cirelli is there. I get the role that he plays, but like Nick Suzuki can do exactly that and give you more. He can contribute offensively. He can contribute defensively. He can play those tough matchups, right? I also had John Tavares as part of this team, but again, if you want Sam Bennett there, that's fine. Good for Brandon Hagel for making it. Clearly, he did enough to be there. I don't know what he's going to bring, but he's there. Good for Seth Jarvis as well, man. It's been a run to get here. He was a cut at the World Juniors, and now he's part of the Four Nations Cup. So I get I'm not taking anything away from Jarvis. Like, if you want Jarvis there over someone like Lafreniere or Stanley, fine. You know what I mean? That's okay. But no Connor Bedard is like, what are we doing? This is pure skill, man. Pure skill. You can figure it out. With the best players in the world, would have been a great opportunity for him.
Would have been cool to see everybody on the same ice. And I understand why people will be like, he should have been there, but all that. Selfishly, for me, it helped me make a great under 23 and under team that we'll get to in a little while here, a fictitious team. But, you have a lot of what Bedard brings to the table on the team already. So, maybe he could be there over a Cirelli or I don't know. I understand why people want him there, but I can also understand the decision to leave him off. Let's see here. Barzal, would he have made the team if he was healthy?
He's again, is he better than Nick Suzuki? No, he plays mostly the wing now. And I don't think there would be much for Barzal to contribute. I will say this. Think of this power play when you have McDavid, McKinnon, Bedard, Makar, and Bouchard. Like, that could have been a power play, and I don't see a single soul stopping it. I don't see the amount of movement on that unit and skill, to me would have been unstoppable. So, not having the shot from Bouchard and not having Bedard is a world class player to me. I get that it's a struggle. I get it's not always easy, but again, he plays in Chicago. He's the only one that matters there. Teams make his life difficult. on a roster like this, you can't watch Bedard because you got to watch McDavid, you got to watch McKinnon, you got to make sure Reinhardt's not scoring goals, Crosby can still contribute. This was a good opportunity to have him here and really see him flex, and instead they chose not to. So, but no, to answer your question, I don't think Barzal would have been part of this team, even if he was healthy.
Yeah, I think there's a few other people that would have made the cut before him. But again, Canada is one of those teams where you can have a second team with full of, snubbed forwards and you'd still have a really quality team. A few more teams to get to here. Let's talk about Sweden now. They are always in the mix in the tournament here. You see up on the screen on the goaltenders, Jacob Markstrom, Linus Olmark, and Philip Gustafsson. On the blue line there, Jonas Brodin at the bottom there with Erik Karlsson, Matthias Ekholm, Gustav Forsling, Rasmus Dahlin, Rasmus Anderson, and Victor Hedman. And then the forward group there, and again, these are just tentative. I'm playing around with line combinations, how I would line them up at least to start. But Forsberg, Eriksson Ek, and Nylander, Zibanejad, Bratt, and Lucas Raymond, Elias Lindholm, Elias Pettersson, and Adrian Kempe, and then Leo Carlsson, William Karlsson, and Victor Arvidsson, and Gustav Nyquist there. So taking a look at the Sweden roster, some of the potential snubs there that I've seen, nothing that you can really make too strong of an argument for because a lot of these players are well-rounded guys that can score and play 200 feet games. Ricard Raquel, I feel like the game's kind of passed him by, but he's somebody that could absolutely maybe have Victor Arvidsson spot potentially. Fabian Zetterlund and William Eklund from the Sharks. Two names I saw thrown out there. William Eklund is an assist machine right now. He's got 18 on the season. I think, next time around he makes Sweden. I don't know about that. Fabian Zetterlund, a little bit more of an all-around player, so maybe you can make a slight argument for him because he has a physical presence too. But both of those guys, I think, make the next team, but not this time around. And then on the blue line, Hampus Lindholm. I'm sure you're just jonesing to talk about Erik Karlsson's placement on this team. Does he still have a spot here, or is he kind of like the game's passed him by, or is he still good enough to at least make this roster one more time?
I think he's still good enough to be here. Like, I know his skating is not what it was once, but I think he's good enough to be on this team. And again, you don't have to ship him out there for 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be. You can protect him. You can give him different matchups. It's possible. I got two players wrong from Team Sweden. So at least I feel good. I got everybody but Gustav Nyquist. I had Ricard Raquel there. For Jonas Brodin, I had Rasmus Sandin instead. So the rest of that lineup looks like as it should. There wasn't a lot of pickings, right? Like, even if Mika Zibanejad's not playing well, he's still Swedish, so he's still making the team, right? It is what it is. I am happy to see Erik Karlsson there. I mean, Victor Arvidsson was a choice. That's for sure.
Yeah,
he has not been good. I had three wrong. I had William Eklund as part of it over Victor Arvidsson. I don't know why. I don't know why Arvidsson's there, but I mean, good for him, I guess. The goaltending to me was obviously the easiest here. This is Philip Gustafsson's job, his starting job. I think Jacob Markstrom backs him up. Linus Ullmark is Swedish, so he is there because of it. I don't think he sees any action, but the way Philip Gustafsson has played this year and the way Team Sweden's back end is built, that is, man, those are elite. I don't think they have the best offensive defenseman as part of that team, but that is a really solid defense group. That's going to be hard to play against. You can roll all those guys out against the best players on the other side, and you don't have to worry about it. There's not a single player there that I'd be like, I don't know, maybe Erik Karlsson, I'll shelter him a little bit, but the rest of those guys, you could just roll them out, whichever one.
Well, they have balance. You have a guy that can move the puck and a guy that's going to shut it down, and it's like you said, you can roll any of the, like you said, maybe shelter Karlsson a little bit, but any of those pairings can play against any of the other team's lines, and it's not. There's no downgrade in quality. It's not. You're not going to see the top line. You're not going to see the top two pairings get 25 minutes, and then that third pairing get 15. No, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be closer across the board, and that's gonna help in a short tournament there.
Absolutely. You could play Victor Hedman and Rasmus Dahlin together. Those guys could contribute as much offensively as they could play defensively. You could play exactly with Matthias Ekholm with Erik Karlsson. You want to shelter him a little bit. Matthias Ekholm was great defensively. He plays with Bouchard, right? Same type of thing, more offensive than defensive Karlsson is. So just an really good defensive team here. They may not score the most goals in the tournament, but they will make it extremely difficult for you to score against them.
And I saw State of Survival. He mentioned that Zibanejad shouldn't be there, but I mean that's one of those where it's like, okay, if he shouldn't be there, then who's going to be there? Like he's still a quality center, and while he is absolutely part of the Rangers' problems, he's not the only problem on the Rangers right now. So maybe getting him out in this Four Nations face-off, getting him around this talent in a tournament, maybe they'll turn. I hope he turns around before this tournament starts because it's still a couple months away. But nonetheless. I think Sweden's got a very balanced roster. Gustafsson over Markstrom. If you had said that maybe a month and a half ago, I'd say you're crazy. But no, the way Minnesota's played and the way he's been a big part of that. And I'm sure Devils fans, maybe on the surface, they're like, oh, Markstrom should be there. No. You want him to be packed up. You want him fresh. Don't want he's for the playoffs. He's not for the regular. And you could play both of those guys. But yeah, Omar kind of. Is just there as the third guy. So yes, Team Sweden looking good. Nyquist also borderline, but again, he also had a pretty good year with Nashville last year. Arvidsson's the one glaring one. That's and people might be like, oh, Carlson's young. No, Carlson plays in every situation for Anaheim. He's fine. He'll do just fine with the Swede on that team. Arvidsson's the one that should probably be out, whether you put Raquel, Eklund there, either or.
Yeah. Again, this is a solid team. I know like some people think this is a battle between Canada and the United States, because you look at this lineup, this like don't discredit the Swedes, man. They're right there. They're right at the door. They may not score the most goals in this tournament, but they're going to be exceptionally hard to play against.
Absolutely, yeah. They are not going to be an easy out. There's not going to be an easy win against them. And they also can beat anybody in the tournament. That's what the Swedish teams always do. They're always, they're always in the medal stand in the international terms. So almost always up at the podium. Now Finland also in the mix here. They're the fourth team here in the Four Nations face-off. Let's look at you got UC Saros, Kevin Lankinen, who has absolutely played his way onto the team, and then UPL there as the third goalie, but it's going to be Saros and Lankinen there. On the blue line, Miro Heiskanen, Asa Lindell, of course, from the Stars. And this might be, Nico Mikkola, Rasmus Ristolainen, Juuso Välimäki, Olli Mata, and then Hakanpää from Toronto, basically filling out the mix there. Also going to be a tough blue line to play against. And then you look up front, of course, Sasha Barkov, Mikko Rantanen, Arturi Lehkonen is quite the top line. Patrick Laine, Sebastian Aho, and Anton Lundell. Then you have Rupe Hintz, Luosterainen, and Teravainen, and then Eric Howler, Mikael Granlund, Joel Armia, and Kaapo Kakko. Maybe I have a little bias there against Kakko, having him as the 13th man, but I think Armia as a fourth-line center, not center, but a fourth-line player there has his value. When you look at the Finland roster here, going to be a tough team to play against, but how do we feel about them versus the other three teams?
They're definitely one step below. Like you can look at this team and say, "Hey, man, they're good, but they're going to struggle at times against like powerhouse teams." I don't think their goaltending is elite by any means. I think UC Saros is probably his job. UPL will back up that defense, like that defensive group. There's nobody there that really stands out. Again, very good defensive though. That's a blue line that is going to be very good defensively, but you're not going to get a ton of offense from. They're out there to do their job, and that's it. To me, like the best defenseman there is Miro Heiskanen, and he's not exactly a guy who lights up the lamp most nights. So that is definitely going to be a struggle here. Their forward group is fine, but it's going to lack a little bit of depth here. Like when Joel Armia makes any type of national team, that's kind of stating how deep your roster is, which is not very deep, right? Laine comes back. He's been injured as well. He's still part of this team. Again, as he should have been. This team is probably going to be more of a defensive group, right? So again, guys who could play both sides of the ice here. So you're talking about Barkov. You're talking about Aho. You're talking about, Rupe Hintz. There are a lot of players on this team that are great two-way players. I would say Mikko Rantanen is the elite sniper on this team. Like he's that guy who's going to be counted on most nights to have to fill the net. The rest of those guys are going to be really good. They're going to be in a lot of low scoring games. You're not going to see Finland putting up 5-6 goals here. They're if they eke out 2, that's already going to be much. 3 is like asking quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 2 Panthers they brought with Lundell and Lou Osterainen. They're going to be, again, those are more shut down forwards that, yes, they can put the puck in the net, but their goal is to be a tough team to play against every night and grind out victories. In terms of snubs, I saw somebody mention Eunice Korpisalo, who's playing well when he does get a chance with Boston. Jesperi Kotkaniemi amongst forwards, although I don't know if there's anybody I'd really take out for Kotkaniemi up there. Maybe Kako, but again, Haula is playing well. Granlund is having a very good season. He's kind of like that straw that stirs the drink here, in San Jose with some of the younger guys on the second line. Teravainen, probably back 9 of his career at this point, but on a good line, he can still contribute. Maybe it'll feel good for him to be out of Chicago for a couple of games and maybe play on some winning hockey. But yeah, I mean, definitely the 4th ranked team here, Finland. But again, going to be a tough team to play against. Saros has not played well in Nashville this year, so we'll see how that. Because if he doesn't play well for Finland, forget about it. They're going to be 0-3 and out and done.
Like, this is a good team, but I could see them losing all 3 games in the tournament. All 3 games, losing them close though. This is they're good, man. That center group is really good. These are guys who could shut down the opponent's, best players. But I just don't think they have. I don't think they have enough firepower in that lineup to keep up with, let's say, the Americans or keep up with the Canadians, even the Swedes. I just don't think there's enough there. So I expect them to lose all 3 games and, again, not get blown out. It's not like they're going to lose 6-1 or something. There's not enough gas here.
It's a good roster, but stacked against the other 3, they definitely got the deck stacked against them a little bit. Our buddy Ant Rivera, our line mate, checking in. I'm here in spirit, fellas. Keep up the great work. Subway to Shea, new episode coming out in about an hour from now, a little over from an hour now. So get your Mets hot stove and MLB hot stove there. I hope you don't get Soto. I hope he stays in the Bronx. That's what I'm hoping for there. We still got a couple of more rosters. Now, we've done the 4 Nations face-off. I'm going to quickly go through some hypothetical rosters here. Now, obviously, with everything going on, in the world, Team Russia not invited to be part of. They could have easily made it a 5 Nations face-off tournament. You still get the alliteration there. No 5 Nations face-off. But let's take a look at what the Team Russia would look like. Now, I only used NHL players. I'm sure there's KHL players that would find their way into this roster, but I decided to keep it all Russia here. So all NHL players from Russia. Now, you talk about the goaltenders, Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky. Ilya Sorokin gets left off here. You could make it with Sorokin, Demko, Canada would jump at both of those guys right now. And then you look at the blue line, Mikhail Sergachev, Dmitry Orlov, Nikita Zadorov, Vladislav Gavrikov, Ivan Provorov, Romanov on the Islanders, Mintyukov with the Ducks. Then up front, not very strong down the middle. That's why I got a guy like Yakov Trent in there to kind of operate with a shutdown. But you still got Malkin, you got Buchnevich, Nemesnikov, and of course Ovechkin, Kucherov, Kaprizov, Panarin, Svechnikov, Nichushkin, Tarasenko, Barbashev, and I have Mishkov on the team. There's a couple other directions I could have gone there, but let's get the young stud out there. Why not?
Yeah, you're right. Can somebody get Sorokin a Canadian passport, just for this tournament? That is wild. That is, again, another abundance of riches here for what could have been a Team Russia team. That's you're looking at Vasilevsky as a future Hall of Fame goalie. Shesterkin could possibly be the highest paid goalie ever. And Bobrovsky coming off a Stanley Cup, and he may not see the ice. That's wild. Defensively, they're fine. It's good. But again, that offensive group, man, Ovi on one side, Panarin on the other, Kucherov and Kaprizov also, making passes and generating stuff. Svechnikov and Nichushkin, those are 2 big bodies as well. I mean, that there's a lot of skill on that ice, though. That it is yes, because of everything happening in the world, it's unfortunate we can't see the Russians, but that is a very good team. There is a lot of skill there.
And that's just NHLers. Like I said, there's probably a
That's
couple of
just NHLs,
AHL guys that are that belong here that aren't on the even on the roster.
Sure, you could have probably invited Evgeny Kuznetsov over, play on maybe on that fourth line somewhere or something. But that is, I mean, just having Kucherov, Kaprizov, Panarin, and Ovechkin on the ice at once would be, I mean, that would be quite the way to go.
They would probably, like you said, because that's a lot of size on that third line there for sure. And heck, you can even Barbashev is not a small guy either. Tarasenko. I mean, Tarasenko, it doesn't necessarily play on a fourth line. But yeah, I mean, look, that is quite a roster there, and it's a shame we don't get to see that compete because they would. All right, so let's to rank rosters here. I mean, Russia would be in that tier with Sweden, United States, and Canada, right? Like, obviously, they're over Finland, but I mean, they're not like between those tiers. They are just as much in that tier as anybody else.
100%. I think this team is better than whatever Finland can put on the ice.
It's better than Finland.
Yeah, I think it's right there with the Swedes.
Yeah,
I think it's right there with them. It's probably close. I still think maybe a notch below Canada and the United States, just because Russia doesn't have that depth down the middle. Their defensive group is, it's doable. But yeah, that's a lot. I mean, the Russians on the power play would be something to watch. There's a ton of skill there. So maybe one day, maybe the Olympics. Maybe we see them at the Olympics.
Maybe we get it there. Now that's Team Russia for you. Why don't we take a look? So there's plenty of talent in places like Germany, Switzerland, the Czech Republic that are just entirely left out here. So I decided we'll do the Team Europe concept that we had from the old World Cup of Hockey there. And there's up on the screen. We decided to recycle the logo as well. Goaltending, not so great. Lucas Dostal, Elvis Merzlikins, who's playing pretty well, but still. And David Riddick, based on the way he's playing for the Kings, while Darcy Kemper was hurt, but he has returned. So, yeah, not great goaltending there. Looking at the blue line, it's kind of like a top pairing, and then the cliff kind of comes off after. They're not a terrible pairing, but not a lot to write home about there. Roman Josi, Philip Hronek, Ferrari from the Capitals, Sider, Gudis, Siegenthaler, and J.J. Moser, and then you look up front. That's a stacked top line: Leon Draisaitl, Tim Stützle, and David Pastrnak, Nico Hischier, Timo Meyer, Martin Necas on the second line. Fiala, Kopitar, Ehlers on the third line, Hurdle, Palat, Zaka, and then I put Pius Suter in there. There's a lot of ways you could have gone for that last forward spot, but figure have like a jack of Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades kind of guy there. But that's the blue line and the goaltending are weak, but the forward group is right there with a lot of the other countries.
Yeah, it's definitely an abundance there when you have Draisaitl, Hischier, and Kopitar down the middle. Some of the best two-way forwards in the NHL. David Pastrnak can score. Marty Necas is apparently elite now, so there's that. That's a solid top nine. I don't know about that fourth line, but that's a solid top nine. Again, probably not going out there and dominating opposing teams offensively, but definitely you could roll all three of those lines out there, and you would get some success. Defensively, yes, Roman Josi, Philip Hronek, they probably eat up most of the minutes, but you got five other guys there who are sound defensively, Maurice Sider there, Radko Gudas, Faravalli, Siegenthaler. Those are guys that you need to defend, block shots, and do all the work because you got to protect the goalies, which, I guess Dostal would start. And the good news is like all three of the, maybe not Ritters, but Dostal and Merzlikins are used to getting absolutely bombarded most nights. So it wouldn't change anything if they came here and had to face a whole bunch of shots, So that's a good thing. But that a hypothetical Team Europe like this would be very good. I think they would be maybe a notch, just one, like a little bit over the Finns. I really don't think the Finns have a great team to compete. Below the Russians, though.
Of course.
Below the Russians. Russians, that's a lot of skill there. Just because of the goaltending. Again, man, nothing wrong with Team Finland. I just think they're missing some gas.
No, I would agree. I probably, the blue line is probably slightly better with Finland. The goaltending, if Saros is playing well, is better. But that forward group for Team Europe, like you said, Draisaitl, Hischier, Kopitar, Hurdle down the middle. Have fun. Have fun against those four. It's not going to be easy in the draw. It's not going to be easy with those guys playing 200 feet. A lot of countries represented here too. So Germany, Switzerland, the Czech Republic are, make up the bulk of it. But you do have Slovenia with Kopitar, Slovakia down there on the blue line. You also have Denmark with Ehlers. You have Latvia with Merzlikins. So yeah, it's a hodgepodge of all of Europe. A lot of Europe is represented here. No Norway. If Zuccarello wasn't on LTIR, maybe I throw Zook in there. You get a little Norwegian action. But yeah, great group of forwards there.
There's a lot of Hall of Famers possible Hall of Famers down the middle there. That's whew.
Yeah, pretty good team there. Now we did. There was a team North America in the World Cup was 23 and under. I didn't limit it to just North America. I just did a whole 23 and under team across the board. And as you can see, because they're babies, a little baby rattle for the logo there, because that's these guys are all 23 and under. Goaltending, might be in better shape than the team we just talked about. Dustin Wolf, Artur Shilovs, and Yaroslav Askarov there would be your netminders for 23 and under on the blue line. Yeah, there's still some good stuff there. Jake Sanderson, Thomas Harley, Owen Power, Lane Hudson, Hughes, Brant Clark, and Riker Evans has been playing well with Seattle before he just got hurt. And then you look at the forward group there. You got Connor Bedard. Thank you for being snubbed so he could be on this team. Macklin Celebrini, Logan Cooley, and Matty Beniers down the middle. Cole Caulfield gets his spot here, being snubbed for Team USA, along with Matthew Nyes. Figure you need a little toughness on that top line with those two tough guys. William Eklund also gets to be here, along with his teammate Macklin Celebrini, Wyatt Johnston, Logan Stankoven, Quentin Byfield, Adam Fantilli, Yuri Slavkovsky. And Dylan Cousins being the 13th forward there. So pretty good team up front, and not a bad team on the blue line either.
No, not specifically terrible. No, they would get smoked though. That's for sure. Yeah. They would, but they'd be fun to watch. There would be a lot of toe drags here. There'd be a lot of toe drags, a lot of like spins and stuff like that. They would be fun to watch. Not necessarily very good, but definitely fun to watch. So that would be kind of cool. I'm sad that they didn't put something together like that. 23 and under. All those guys. Like, the goaltending is what it is. Defense is all right. Forward group is, again, a lot of skill, but I don't know how good they'd be defensively.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the blue liners there are guys that are developed offensively, but still learning some more about the defensive game there. That's why, and that's kind of why, like, Luke Hughes is better than a third pairing defenseman, but I was just trying to balance out the skill on those three pairings there. So yeah, I mean, you like a little bit more of a defensive defenseman in that group. But and then up at forward, like you said, this is not a team that's going to try, like, they're not going to play like Finland and try and shut you down and win a close game. This is a team that's going to just try and get into a track meet and hope they outscore you.
That's it. They're going to be playing pond hockey.
I like that team though.
I do. I think it's pretty. I mean, again, they would lose, but they would be fun to watch though.
Yeah. They'd be the lovable losers of the tournament. So you'd have them. So if we're gonna, they're the bottom team of the 7 that we've discussed here today.
Yes, they would. I got to give Finland a little bit more credit. They would probably shut these kids down.
Yeah, they would. You'd probably get 1 or 2 sexy goals from like that group, and then that would be it.
They would probably score more than 1 Michigan goal. Like that, their offense would be driven from behind the net. They'd be trying to, turn it out. Torts would lose it. He would not be the coach of this team.
He would throw the remote at the TV. He'd be like, "I'm not watching this."
He would. You would probably have to get extra iPads for this team.
Yeah. You'd have, or Microsoft Surface tablets, whatever we're using. Nonetheless, though. There we go. Hypothetical 23 and under team there. I had fun going through all those. That was good times there. Yeah.
Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good hypothetical teams there.
But if you're going to have a tournament, you would need an 8th team. I don't know where you bring an 8th team in, though. Like, do you have like a 30 and over team? You have like an old guy team?
Or maybe you have players from like other leagues.
You could do that. You could do like a KHL, Swedish Elite League. Have players from have our internet like a way for champions vibe, kind of, but like putting it all on one team, kind of thing.
Kind of like they do for like the Spengler Cup, like one of those teams. Canada sends one. I don't know if they'd win, but at least have fun.
We need an 8th team. And listen, maybe you got an idea for an 8th team. If you do, let us know. totalhockeynow@gmail.com. We want to know what the 8th team is so we can make it from a 4 nations face-off to an 8-team tournament and get the Russian team in there, get Team Europe in there, Get the baby Rattlers in there. Get them all going. Now, got to get to TMP here before we wrap things up. Looking at the slate for tonight. For me, the one that I was really looking at is I'm going to take the over. It was at even money for over 6 for the Panthers and the Flyers tonight. I have a feeling that that's going to be a score fest there. So that's the one I'm looking at. There's a couple of other regulations that I like, but that's probably the over 6 in that game is where I'm heading.
Very convenient of Ant to not be here now that he's dropped 2 in a row. It seems like the magic winning is not there anymore. But that's that's neither here nor there. I'm going with the Montreal Canadiens because Nashville is playing their second game in as many nights. They collapsed to the Leafs. Nashville is not a very good team. I'm assuming they didn't go out yesterday. Like I'm assuming they didn't get a chance to go down St. Catherine, visit all of the nice bars and everything. No way Barry Trotz let them have a good time. So 2-2. UC Saros is going to start this game as well. So that I think he is. I don't know if Noonan's going to get the start. Either way, doesn't really matter. Montreal is not a great team, but Patrick Laine is back. They're running it. They're feeling good. Why not? Plus money, sure. Habs are better at home. They don't shoot the puck, but at least they're present. So
says it's still unconfirmed according to Daily Faceoff, but I would assume with Saros going last night, you would see Justice Noonan making his Predators debut tonight. That was an interesting trade as well. The Wedgwood for a Noonan trade. I get it. From Colorado, maybe you'd rather have a vet in there than another young guy, but
that was a meaningless trade. I mean, It helped nobody. It does nothing. I mean, the Colorado is still miserable. Nashville's still losing games. I feel like they just got bored and they were like, "Hey, you want to swap goalies?" And they're like, "All right, let's do it."
Spencer Knight going for the Panthers tonight against Fedotov for the Flyers. I also like the Panthers in regulation, and Winnipeg in regulation tonight. Get right too against Buffalo there. So there we go. That's TMP. Chris, what do we got coming up on the Slapshot podcast this week?
Tomorrow we're going to talk about stuff, and we're a little bit of Four Nations. I had already broken down all the Four Nations team. That's where I got. So, and again, my opinion was 100% correct. So that is for sure. But the main topic is always Puck Doku. I'm 4 in a row. So, I mean, I'm trying to make it work here. I'm just out here trying to make it 5. And then I'm just going to defend Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. And I'll throw Noah Dobson in there. I don't know how this man was forgotten. Tage Thompson as well. Like Buffalo, terrible team, mid-city, but Tage Thompson should be there.
I'm going to put the pressure on you. I want you to go 8 in a row to close the year. That's what I want.
That's asking a lot from somebody who is not very good. I will say this. You started the winning streak. We're still there. Even though some people say it doesn't count because I didn't understand the rules, in my book, it does. And since I am the commissioner of my own show, I decide the rules. So we just, we just let it rip. So I'm on. If you need the righty
out of the bullpen, you let me know. I'm here. Okay.
Okay. That's good to know. Yes. How can I say this? I'm not old enough to know some of those like players. I can go way back, like I got friends showing me their Puck Dokus. And I'm like, I wasn't even born yet. This whole thing is just, I was like, I would have never guessed this.
I may just start doing that to annoy you now on Twitter and just adding you when I get it.
There you go. See?
All right. So we got one trade proposal before we get out of here. Sleeper trade idea from State of Survival. Brock Nelson, the Preds. They need a second line center. Trotz made the Nelson we know today. What do you guys think? I don't hate it. I think maybe Nashville could use a little more of a guy like a Brock Nelson in there, but I don't know if that's gonna just be the magic light switch that solves the problem for Nashville, which I wanted to talk about in the future episode. We'll talk about because we said we didn't want to panic about the Predators till Thanksgiving. Well, American Thanksgiving is come and gone. The Predators are still very outside the playoff picture right now.
Yeah, I don't know if Brock Nelson solves all their problems, but like it depends what's going the other way. Nashville also has no money, so like you would probably need the Islanders to eat some money on it, and that probably takes a pick going the other way. And I don't know how down Nashville is to move a pick. It does fall into the Barry Trotz category, though, right? Like, older player, veteran.
Islanders are going to sell.
Islanders would be selling every year. So, but it's not terrible. I just don't know how the logistics would work out of it. I also don't know how. Maybe Brock Nelson would like to go there. I hear there's no state tax in Tennessee, so maybe that helps. I think what the Predators need is just cancel another show. Like, what's the next? Is there a show at the Sphere that maybe some of the players want to go? Like, just cancel that right off the rip. Do it now. Don't even wait till February. Cancel it now.
Is it you two that's still there? Is it the Eagles? One of those guys are doing. You could see you two at the Sphere right now through March.
Through March, cancel that. Cancel it. They're not going.
Actually, no, their residency ended. I'm sorry. So who's at the Sphere right now?
Oh, okay. So no. I was going to say, what, they're back again? That was last year. I know they canceled the EG guys.
They missed you two last year. Yeah. So right. I don't know if anybody's lined up for the Sphere right now.
Interesting. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe the Sphere needs to have an event that the Nashville Predators want to go to. I don't know, like maybe like Luke Combs or something like that. So, Nashville vibe kind of thing. Just cancel it. Be like, you're not going. Not with this type of performance. You're not going.
That's what you need. You need to, like you said, you need a big event, even if it's like a made up thing. They don't need to know it's real. Make up something going on at the Sphere and just have the Sphere play along with it. Just alert their PR staff, like, hey, we're gonna lie to our team about this thing, then yank it out from them. Just play along.
You know what? Go one step further. Just cancel Christmas. That's it. Cancel the Christmas party. Just no Christmas. Barry Trotz can be the Grinch here if he wants. I don't think he cares either. Just cancel Christmas.
The NHL says you're off. Bag skate.
NHL
Christmas morning.
Yeah, that's it. I think the CBA doesn't allow it, but just cancel their Christmas party. Where are they going? Wherever are they going? That's cancel suspend their passports. You're not going anywhere. You're staying in this country, and that's it. Tell your wife that you're not. Tell your wife you're not going to Cabo because you guys can't score goals.
I would say make it a stocking skate in the holidays. Of it, instead of in a bucket, you throw up in a bag. You throw up in a stocking. That would at least make it holiday appropriate.
I don't feel bad for the Nashville Predators, by the way. They spent all that money and it's not working. You cannot buy a Stanley Cup. It doesn't work, man. Doesn't work.
Also doesn't help that Minnesota is a juggernaut right now. Winnipeg's playing well. Colorado seemed to have
Minnesota is a juggernaut, and they got $15 million in dead money from the Zach Parise and Ryan Suter buyouts. You imagine if they had $15 more million, what they could do with it? Like, this is a team balling on technically a budget. So good for Bill Guerin. He's built that team into something. This is a good hockey team. And one day they're going to have $15 million more, and they're going to be able to do something with it. And Kaprizov's locked up, and Boldy's locked up. So, damn, good for them. So again, I don't feel bad for the Nashville Predators. Just sulk.
Either. We'll see if they turn things around though. So I got a new episode of Rip and Riff came out early this week with Mr. Jared Moore and myself. We'll be back with you on Monday as well for another one as we get closer to the holidays here.
You did not pull the Paul Skeens card, is what I'm understanding.
That was we have not pulled one, and he says the benefits that would come with it. It wasn't enticing him, but hey, that's his take, and I stand behind my guy, Mr. Jared Moore there, even though he's a Devils fan. But I stand behind my guy. That'll do it for this edition of Total Hockey Now. All right, Chris 91. I'm at Pucking Thoughts. Back with you next Thursday. Only a few more episodes of Total Hockey Now to go this year, in the year 2025. But we're back with you next week. All new episode. Aunt Rivera 86 should be back as well. See you next week. Total Hockey Now.